Morning, welcome to the Beyond the Arc podcast. Great to be back. I'm Dallas, joined by Ryan Sylvia of Tennessee Rivals. Just wanted to make sure I did pronounce that last name correct, right?
Yes, you got it, Sylvia. I
All right,
always say, like the woman's first name.
all right, sounds good, man. So let's just basically just kick off with the Gardner-Webb game the other night. What did you come out of it thinking?
Yeah, I thought Tennessee looked sloppy at times, but also showed promise in what could lead to another successful season. My biggest question was coming into the game was what exactly is Chaz Lanier going to look like? Because we saw Chaz Lanier in that exhibition that shot the ball a lot, but wasn't efficient at all and couldn't knock down a lot of shots. Well, we saw the Chaz Lanier that I think we all expected to see coming into this season, which was a guy that put up nearly 20 points, who shot over 50% from the field, was really effective from range as well, and overall was your best scorer. Defensively, uh, you obviously know where you're getting most of your production from a Jemai Mashak and a Zakai Ziegler. Felix Okpara, I thought could have played a little bit better. Tennessee's going to need him to play a little bit better on defense. 4 fouls against a team that you should have kind of the physical advantage against is a little bit worrisome, but he's also young and he's also new to the system and new to what Rick Barnes demands. So overall, I think that it's probably pretty positive that you're able to win pretty handily. You're able to get different guys in different roles and see what you have, and then be able to go to the film room and be able to dissect what went wrong. And ultimately, that's how you get better, is figuring out what you need to improve in rather than just steamrolling a team that never stood a chance.
Yeah, speaking as to the defensive part, I'm looking at the points in the paint here in Tennessee. Allowed 34 points in the paint, which I'm not sure if that's going to cut it against Louisville, who the other night against Morehead State scored 42 to kind of move to Saturday's game just a tad bit. And, Louisville's offense is a little bit more spread you out, threes and layups pretty much. As Gardner-Webb, it felt like they really tried to get into the post and down to the paint a little bit more.
Yeah, it's gonna be something to watch. You lose your two best rim protectors in Tobe Awaka and Jonas Adu, and I feel like Tennessee did a pretty good job of replacing them. I think Felix Okpara's ceiling is probably higher than Jonas Adu's is on the defensive end because he's kind of the best of both worlds, where he's really tall and long and has the wingspan and he's able to block shots, but at the same time he's not afraid to get physical. So to me, it is that foul trouble portion of it though. Like, what is he going to look like against SEC play or against some of these really good bigs that we'll see Tennessee play this year? Is he going to be able to hang in there and not get into foul trouble? And then what do we have behind him? Like what does Tennessee have behind him? What are we going to see behind him? Because JP Estrella still limited, still a guy that's coming off injury. Then Cade Phillips, another guy that is still really young too. So it'll be interesting to see what both of those guys end up doing behind Felix Okpara as well.
Yeah, Kay, when he first came out there for against Gardner-Webb, you could tell he was a little skittish and maybe a little excited. Blew a bunny, I think, early on. But as the second half came, he kind of calmed down and seemed like the game slowed down for him. JP, I was really impressed with. Moving to Louisville just real quick, they have a pretty much a whole entire new roster. I mean, Terrence Edwards Jr., Trey Hoare, Pryor, seemed to have a good game the other day against Morehead. What do you think Tennessee will be looking to do on the defensive side against Louisville?
Yeah, they're going to have to do a much better job than Morehead State did. 93 points for Louisville, I think, is a really nice spot for them to be at right now. And when you look at uh, their box score and you just kind of see uh, it was pretty balanced. And so there's not just one guy that Tennessee is going to have to lock in on and shut down. And if they do that, then the Vols will feel like they can win. They're going to have to play a team-wide good defensive effort. I mean, you look, I think they had 5 different guys in double figures. And when you go past that, you have, just pulled up, you have another guy with 8 points as well. So the main guy, Case and Pryor, he led them with 18 points, pretty efficient. I guess that's the guy to lock in on if you have to pick one, but it's going to take a full team defensive effort. And that means that it isn't just Zakai at the top. It isn't just Jemai on the wing or Felix in the paint. Chaz Lanier is going to have to show that he can defend at the level that Rick Barnes wants him to. Jordan Gainey off the bench will have to show that he's taken steps in the right direction. Igor Milicic will have to show that, with all the years under his belt in those different defensive systems, he's able to do it at a top level. So to me, we know what we're going to get out of the best players defensively for Tennessee. What are you going to see from the guys that have a little bit more question marks on their defense.
Yeah, you mentioned Zakai, and I kind of want to get your opinion on this. I just noticed during the Indiana game actually that it felt like a while that Zakai had actually had a good game shooting from behind the arc. So excuse me. I went and kind of delved into the numbers, and including the Indiana game and now Gardner-Webb, he is 9 of 43 from behind the arc, shooting about 20%. Is that a worry to you, or do you think it's something he can correct over the season?
I'm not too worried about Zakai shooting. I think that it'll correct itself. I don't know if he'll ever get over that 40% mark, but I think if he can live around 35%, you'll take it from him. And he is obviously a guy that's going to shoot more from range because of his height. He can't get too deep into the trenches, which he's pretty good at doing it, but it's not his necessarily his forte on offense just because of his size. But he's a good shooter. We've seen him make big shots. We've seen him have games like he did the other night, and he wasn't very efficient, but we've also seen him have games where he can't miss from three, and he really helps Tennessee on the offensive side. And then obviously his defense with that makes him one of the best players in the SEC. So I'm not too worried about that. I think that'll correct itself. And it is early. You see different guys struggle out the gates. You see different guys struggle to get their shots. But by the time SEC play gets rolling, I think he'll be fine.
I pretty much share the same sentiment. I feel like we kind of have to address the elephant in the room, which is Tennessee having to replace the offense of Dalton Connect. Do you feel as though they will be trying to do that from a team standpoint, or will they look for a Lanier or an Igor Mirotic to replace it by themselves?
I think you'll have to hope Lanier can carry a good bit of that load. I think it's unrealistic to expect any single player to reach that level that Dalton did last year. I mean, he was one of the best college basketball players we've seen come through Knoxville in that one season. So I don't expect Chaz Lanier to be at that level, but I do expect Chaz Lanier to have a really nice season and to help cover up some of those offensive woes. So it'll have to be the team. I think it'll be different people on different nights. I think you'll get your good portion from Chaz Lanier. But then will it be Jordan Gainey like we saw against Gardner-Webb, who had a really nice game? Is it going to be Igor, like you said? Can he get that offense going? Is Felix going to have some nice offensive games? Is Zakai going to start hitting threes like we just talked about? You'll need different guys on different nights to step up. I think when Tennessee's at its best, it might look like how it did at Kentucky and Rupp Arena last year, where Dalton had a fine game, but it was everyone else. It was just every single player on the floor for Tennessee was killing Kentucky in that game and could not miss a shot. And that's unrealistic for every single game, like all 30 games in a season. But if you can start to capture a little bit of that, where different guys are making shots and maybe you have like Louisville did against Morehead State, where you have five different guys in double figures, that's when Tennessee is going to be at its peak.
Yeah, I really agree with the Kentucky take there. It's not really something I had thought about. I kind of want to discuss Cam Carr a little bit too. I mean, you're closer in with the program than I am. Do you think the early mock draft talk has kind of gotten to him, put a lot of pressure on him, or what exactly do you think has kind of hindered his offense so far this season?
I don't think there's necessarily been distractions for him, but the staff does have high expectations for him, and you can see that at practices in the way that they coach him. Like they're on him. They know what his ceiling can be. And it reminds me in some ways of how they coached Dalton at the beginning of last year. And I don't want to say that Cam Carr is going to be Dalton Connect, but it does remind me in the way that like they can see all the potential, they can see what it could be, and they're just on him at practice. And they expect really big things out of him. With him, though, I mean, who's to say it's this year? He could have a really good year. It's still really early, and he struggled out the gates. But I mean, who knows what he looks like by the end of the season? But who's to say he's not a late bloomer and he doesn't get it going as a junior or a senior or something like that later? So I still have hopes for him. I don't think that he's necessarily looking at some mock drafts and getting flustered by it or anything. I think it's just he's a young player. He's getting his feet under him, but he's grown a lot since last year. He already looks like a much improved player. And man, he doesn't lack confidence too. When he gets the ball and he's open, he's letting it fly. And you like to see that from a guy that you hope's a really good scorer.
Yeah, he definitely does not lack confidence. And if there is one coaching staff that you would want to have for a player like Cam Carr that can maybe keep him away from that noise, would be Rick
Yeah.
Barnes. I feel like he does a very good job of keeping his players level headed. Jordan Gainey against Gardner-Webb looks like to me a totally different player at times than he did last season. He looked more in control, like the game had slowed down for him. Was that something you took away as well?
Yeah, I think you said it exactly right. He looked more in control. He looked really comfortable on the floor. And last year, at times, you could kind of see it maybe moving a little fast. And out of conference play, he had a really nice out of conference slate last year. But when the games got really big and SEC play came, I'm gonna say he was bad, but he didn't look like the same player at times. And this year, that was the most kind of confident, in control, not only knows where he needs to be, but is really confident in where he is. Like there's not a second guess in, oh, am I running the right play? Is this my spot? Am I doing the right thing on defense? Should I be setting a, should I be like, he looked like he knew exactly what he wanted to do, and he was doing it at a really high level. So that gave me a lot of hope for Tennessee that he could be a guy, which I really like his current role off the bench as a guy that can come in, be a spark, hit a couple threes, get the offense going if it's struggling out the gates, and help that offense just in general come along, because there's going to be games where it struggles. There's going to be games that Tennessee's going to have to try to win like 52 to 48. Well, he could be a guy that gets you to that 52, 55, 56 mark and helps you win ugly.
Yeah, I feel like Gainey, like you said, is going to be a huge part of this season, and especially if he can keep himself in that 6 man role, something like that, maybe get in the conversation for 6 man of
Yeah.
the year. That would be huge for Tennessee. Well,
Yeah.
Ryan, I want to thank you for coming on today. It's been a pleasure. I don't want to keep you too long, but I would just like to get, if you want to, a prediction. Do you have Tennessee this Saturday against Louisville, or do you have Louisville pouring out the W?
I think Tennessee will be at Louisville. I think Pat Kelsey's got Louisville in a much better spot than they were, obviously, but that's not saying too much. But I think Tennessee will go in there. I think they'll take care of business. I think that there's going to be some ugliness again. There's going to be some growing pains. It's similar to what we saw with the Lady Vols last night, where, yeah, the final score looks really good for Tennessee, but there's a lot that needs to be cleaned up before some better and bigger teams come to town. But yeah, I think Tennessee wins. I think probably looking score prediction wise, maybe 71 to 63. So decently comfortable, but a good game. Never pulling out the starters at the end or anything. And we'll learn a lot about this team for sure.
I'm glad you mentioned the ladies, because if I didn't mention that, I would get a lot of heat from that from people I know. So, yeah, Kim Caldwell has done I mean, it's early, but she's done a tremendous job so far, it seems.
She
But
has.
thank you.
Yeah,
Go on.
just for Lady Vols, I love talking Lady Vols, so I'll mention them really fast too. But yeah, I thought that you can tell the energy's changed. You can tell kind of some things kind of energy wise, like pregame warm-ups. There's like a good vibe going for them, and that's been cool to see. But then the on the court play, it's been fun to watch. Kim Caldwell's a very strict coach in a different way than Rick Barnes is, but a strict coach in a way that she'll get the best out of her players. And their transfer class seems really good too. Ruby Whitehorn with a really nice exhibition, then Z Spearman coming in with a really strong second half against Samford. So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, we're gonna have to maybe do a Lady Vols podcast in the future. Maybe if you have time to come on and talk a little bit, I'll have my co-host on then.
Yeah,
I guess
absolutely.
I should probably announce what that's gonna be. It's gonna be Levi Transom. I don't know if you know who seen him on
Yeah,
Twitter or whatever.
yeah, I've seen them. Yeah, absolutely. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So we'll try to have you on there, and thank you again for coming on here and spending some time. I'll let you go and have a good day and go Vols.
Absolutely, Dallas. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.